quick note before we get started with the video, I just updated my shop. I've got prints and originals up for sale. Link is in the description. Also, if you've ever thought about supporting me on Patreon, now might be a good time if you also want a painting or a print, because patrons get a 10% discount. Patrons, don't forget to put in your 10% discount. Link to my Patreon will also be listed in the description below. Buying a painting or a print is a great way to support me. Donating on Patreon is a great way to support me. Watching my videos is a great way to support me. Thank you so much, and on with the video. Hi, Mimi. You sleepy girl? So last week I started doing a thing where I allowed myself to start painting without filming it, which I love filming my paintings and I love sharing my paintings. And also it definitely adds a big layer of stress to your painting process when you're like, I gotta get the shot right, I gotta make sure it's gonna be good, do I have enough footage to turn this into content for the internet, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it's just really nice to take time for yourself and your painting and just focus on that without any concern for the video part of it. So I started working on a little series of pink water paintings. Shorthand, I'm calling them Barbie water. It looks kind of like Barbie water in my brain. It's something I've thought about doing for a long time. I really love the idea of colored water. I've been really inspired by some paintings by Matthew Cornell, who did this really beautiful, rich, like red water paintings years and years and years ago. And I've always wanted to like experiment with that and play with that. And I also love like bath bombs, kind of like the colored water in bath bombs. I could spend like hours like staring at bath water and different colors from bath bombs. And I wanted to pull that kind of like magical water feel into my paintings. I love painting water, and I'm like, how can I kind of turn this a little magic-y? There's a lot of construction going on over that way, so there might be construction sounds, but we gotta deal with it. So I started creating this little series of paintings with really magical pink water and sparkles. Here I have like some sparkly sand. I've been wanting to do some paintings, I haven't done them yet, where the water has sparkles in it and you can kind of see the sparkles like churning in the water. But what I've done is I've mixed up a bunch of paints, a bunch of these, let me turn this around. Boop. A bunch of super vibrant, super saturated pinks and some rainbow colors, and I'm using those same colors on multiple paintings. So I have them mixed up in bulk, and then I put it in the freezer to keep them from drying out so that I can keep using them over and over again on the same painting, so they have this like really neat cohesive feel and they all kind of match. I've also been doing a pink underpainting for every single one of these paintings, so they're super cohesive, and I've been loving this series. So I wanted to kind of take a moment after I've made those, I've taken that time for me to document how I kind of go about making these, how like I've been putting this kind of painting style in this series together for me. So that's what I'm gonna be doing today. I'm gonna get started. I gotta plug in the battery though, because this camera's gonna die, so I gotta do that real quick. Okay, so I'm starting off by digging through some of my reference photos to find one that I want to use as a reference. But to look at and be inspired by for this painting. So for these pink water paintings, finding reference photos is not really possible because pink water is not something very common at all, especially in the way that I want to paint it, which is in like an ocean or lake scenario, like big bodies of pink water. So I basically have a reference photo that I'll either edit or look at to create my own imagery. For example, this one, instead of editing this photo to look exactly pink, I just looked at my normal photo. Let me see if I can find it real quick on my iPad. And in my brain, changed the colors. So this was my reference photo. I took this when I was in the Boundary Waters canoeing. And I just decided to change the colors of the water and not the highlights into this painting when I just made it. And then I added sparkles too, because there's no sparkles in this painting. And I needed some sparkles, so I added a couple of those too. Ooh. So it's a lot that's pulled from my imagination, but it's also based on something that I'm actually looking at. So I gotta dig through my reference photos, which I have a bunch of them set up here on my iPad, so I can kind of dig through them in big screen and zoom in. Most of them are from my phone that I just airdropped to my iPad. And I'm gonna go digging through and see what I can find that kind of like sparks some inspiration for me. I also have a bunch of different sizes of gessoed wood panels because I'm doing these paintings in oils, which means I need to have a nice non-porous surface so the oil doesn't soak in. So I have gessoed panels that my wife cut for me. Knick-Knack cut these for me. But I have varying sizes. I have square sizes in a couple different bignesses. This one's a smaller bigness and this one's a bigger bigness. And then some more rectangular sizes. So depending on my reference photo, I might want to only have like a square ratio, and I might have like less details, so I might be more comfortable on a smaller piece, or I might have like a rectangular ratioed reference photo, and it might have more details that I might want a bigger canvas size to be able to paint on. So I brought out a variety so that I can choose what I want to paint on based on whatever my reference photo is. So this is the reference photo I think I'm going to be using. I took this a couple years ago at a lake in New York, and it's got lots of really beautiful highlights. It's got like kind of really subtle little rocks in there that I can kind of up the contrast on in my painting to make them show up a little bit better, or I can keep them kind of subtle. And I have lots of room to create some pretty sparkles because that's what this series is about. It's about pink and sparkles. This is more of a square ratio, so I have 2 square ratioed panels right here, and I'm thinking about, I like the smaller size, and I did the smaller size here on this one, but also bigger size is nice. Maybe I'll do a warm-up today on a smaller size and kind of ease into a bigger one because it's still early and I can get intimidated by bigger paintings. So let's start this guy on a smaller one. There's not so much crazy detail in here that I really need a bigger panel to get everything. I can kind of simplify everything. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna turn it into one of these. What I need to do first before actually starting my painting is putting down my ground color, and that is of course pink. This is, I think the label has long been removed, but I'm pretty sure it's a Liquitex Basics Fluid acrylic paint, and I put this down just as a ground color for me to work on top of. I've done that for all 3 of the other paintings, and it just allows, when I kind of have some transparency with my oil paint, some of that pink to come through and really kind of pull all of the colors in together and have that pink undertone shine through a little bit. I know lots of people enjoy painting on a pure white background. It kind of gives you a full blank surface to work on top of. But for me, having that color to start is so helpful. Okay, so my first pink layer is dry, and I'm actually gonna use, still in acrylics, a second acrylic pink paint, and this one's permanent magenta. I don't know the exact color of this one because the label is long gone, but this is definitely a darker pink comparatively, and what I'm gonna do is sketch out with this pink the shadow areas of my water, the places where you're gonna see the water through the like surface. There's gonna be the highlights where you're kind of seeing the reflection of the sky, and then parts where you're seeing more through the surface of the water to the water below. That's what's gonna be the darker pink colors. So to kind of develop my composition, which is gonna be pretty similar to my reference photo, but I like to kind of move things around a little bit until it's like pleasing to my eye. So to get my composition right and to kind of do a little bit of a value study right on my canvas before I actually do my full painting, I like to do just a short, small layer of drawing out my contrasted areas with some paint. And I'm actually gonna do that. I'm not even gonna put this, you can see I've done this before. I just put paint in the top of the lid there and then dab it out so I don't have to get any acrylic paint on my oil palette. Got a little bit of water over here. I'm gonna pick out a little brush. How about this guy? Get some of this out and just literally put it right in the lid because it's convenient. Mix that in with my water so it's got a pretty nice fluidity, and I want to sketch out the general locations. Got that all set up, and now I'm gonna go in and start to block in my colors and my oils. Probably starting with my sky color highlights first, which is this color that I've been using on my other paintings over here. And then I vary it with a little bit of white, and I add tiny little tints of things, and then figure out which of these pink colors I want to be my predominant color. This water is going to be a little bit deeper than, say, this water where you can see what rocks through. So I'm thinking a darker color, maybe closer to this one here. So I gotta make some choices. I'm gonna play around with some stuff and see where I go. Now that I've got most of my highlights blocked in, I'm gonna start going in with my actual pink watercolor. I think I'm gonna define the darkest parts first with this, like, not my like darks, but my like mid-tone kind of darks. So I have all my main colors blocked in. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but you can tell that there's a lot of transparency in these deep purpley pinks here that has that pink color that I put on originally with the acrylics still kind of shining through. I'm trying to find a spot where you can see it best. So it almost looks like that pink is like glowing through, which is really, really beautiful. So these are the basic blocked in areas, and now I'm gonna start going in with my details. probably starting with my darker details and then moving to my lighter details. I don't plan out any of my paintings as far as like steps go. I just start throwing paint on. I experiment with different things. Sometimes I don't block in the color. Sometimes I block in a solid color and then work all on top of that. And like oils and then just do a ton of blending. Sometimes I don't want that. It really is for me like feeling out each piece and like messing around with different techniques, different amounts of blending, different layering. So I'm gonna go do whatever I feel like now on the next step. So I've been adding in some of these details, especially in the darker areas, and originally I was thinking about making the highlights of the water that are reflecting the sky look more like this painting, and this one, actually this one, the water's a little choppier. This one's a little smoother, like the reference photo I have over here, and there's not really much more reflecting other than the water, but on this one, I don't know what is here. I think it was like, trying to remember when I took this reference photo. I think it was like on a dock, and I think this might have been like a pole standing up at the dock that reflected back into the water, and originally I was going to paint that out, but I kind of like how it looks now. Oop, that guy. So I think I'm going to try and add some of those details, and if I don't like it, I'll just let it dry and paint over it. But you see those little shapes that go inside the highlights? That's what I think I want to add in, so I'm going to attempt to do that now. I started to do here is add in tiny little dots of paint color in varying shades, only on the part where you're seeing through the water. And by doing that, I'm trying to get an effect that looks like there's some sparkles or like glitter within the water. I still have a far way to go, but instead of doing like a sparkle on the top of the water like caused by the sun, I'm trying to create the effect of like actual particles of glitter or like something that's like actually sparkling within the water. So I haven't done that yet in any of these. This one has kind of glitter in the sand, which is kind of maybe what I'm going for. Something similar. You can see there's little bits of glitter in here and lots of glitter here. So this is kind of a little bit new, and I'm worried it might turn out looking a little bit messy, but I'm willing to give it a try. I'm actually using this little seam ripper because the very tip is pretty pointy, and so I'm using it. Oh, another plane is going by. Whatever. I'm tapping it into my color, and then I'm able to tap it on my canvas. And I get really tiny little dots that are super controlled. I have applied quite a few sparkles at this point, and I'm liking how it looks overall as a whole, but I think I might want to step away for the day and come back to it. So I think I'm going to put my paints back in my freezer in my garage and take a peek at this guy tomorrow and see how I'm feeling, see if it needs more, or decide that it's done. So I'll see you then. Alright, it's the next morning, and I'm taking a look at the pink water I did yesterday, and I am pretty happy with it. I don't think I want to make any changes to it. What my biggest criticism of it, I think, is that oh, I just touched it. I'm such a ding dong. I was too focused on the camera. Where'd I even touch it? Oh, I see, it's right there. Okay, it's fine, you can't even notice it. Anyway, the sparkles look very stark, I'm feeling, and I think I'd like to ideally make the edges around the sparkles a little bit more soft, so they look like they maybe have a little bit of a halo of light and they're a little bit shiny, kind of like you can see kind of the softness of the sparkle there. But when they're so small and you're working on a canvas that's only wee big, I think it's 4 by 4 inches. That's tricky to do. So I think on the next size up, when I do sparkles in water, I think I'm gonna blend the edges of the sparkles a little bit more. But for now, I'm gonna leave that as is. I might fix that little smudgy finger print I made. But this morning, I'm going to attempt to do a pink water wave, which is definitely a little trickier than like a zoomed in water painting like I've done here. All of these have been pretty much zoomed in. I want to zoom out just a little bit and get some of the sky and the horizon line so you can get a little better context where the color is coming from, and like that the sky is reflecting the blue, but the water is in fact pink. That's trickier, it's more ambitious. I'm thinking along the lines of this, but this was in acrylics and was more like a sketch. It was a very like quick painting, I didn't use a reference photo. I just did this out of my imagination for fun. But similar to that, where you can kind of get the vibe that the water's colored and that the sky is blue. So I'm digging through Pinterest now, looking for a couple different reference photos because I don't have very many wave reference photos. I'm gonna be heading out to California to visit my parents soon, so I'll be getting some wave reference photos then, but I don't have a lot of my own, so I need to find some and maybe make an amalgamation of what I'm looking for. I do have some that are like old that I can find and dig through. I'll take a look and see what I can find. Okay, digging through my reference photos, I did find this one that I took in Florida last year, I think. Definitely gonna be tricky to turn pink. But I think I'm gonna give it a try on a slightly bigger panel this time. I think this one's like a, what's this? Like a 6x6-ish. Also a square. Got my paints out of the freezer. And I'm gonna block out the layout, my composition with my darker magenta, and go from there. This is my finished pink water painting for today. I think it's really hard to see on camera just how vibrant this pink is in real life. Oh, it's really hard to like capture with the lighting, but I think I handled this pretty good considering this was my reference photo. I didn't add any sparkles. I thought about it, but I kind of wanted to keep this one a little more subdued just because it's tricky for me anyway. I don't usually like to paint zoomed out water. So I was like, okay, let's just leave this as is and see if I can actually capture that full view of the like horizon line along with the water to try and get it to have that realistic feel and give you some context for where this blue water actually is. Where these, it's kind of harder to kind of imagine the context. Here it's very clear that this is a shore, there's a horizon line, you're seeing all the way out, and it's pink ocean water. This has kind of been like a little peek into my, I guess I'd consider it a series, like the new series of paintings I've been working on. Doing water, as always, as I've been doing for years, but kind of shifting it in a way that's really fun for me, that includes my favorite color, that feels unique to my style, which is fun. But I've still got all this paint color, and I think I'm just gonna make more. I've made all 5 of these now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these pink water paintings, all with this color, and I love how they all sit together. And they're all obviously different. Oop, can't see because I got a bag in the way. They're all obviously very different, but having that same color palette just ties everything in. And it's also really nice and easy and convenient to just sit down, have my paints all mixed up already, and go straight into painting. I usually spend so much time on color mixing. I think I need to like start simplifying my color mixing. I mix up too many colors, I feel like, and I've been mixing up too many colors for years. So I simplified down my color palette. I've still been able to do like a huge range of different things and compositions and stuff like that with it. It's a neat direction for me. I'm feeling excited about it. So much more of this to come, and I'll see you in the next video.